just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am enough for the laughter, the life that I'm after, enough for my wildest dreams. Yeah, 'cause every flaw from my toe to my jaw is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I know I got something to say, and I'm gonna remind myself every day I'm enough, just as I am. Right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. Shine down on you, and I am enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. Sing it again. Got the better of me, never thought there could be so much doubt. They say I used to lie. Many faces outward, peel the layers off before time passes you by. Happiness should be free. Joy deep within, find the key. But they say receive the divine to throw out the demons inside. You've gotta be real, otherwise how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth, yeah. The external can't sustain. You've gotta be real, otherwise how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Don't be seduced. Yeah. Enlightenment has a price tag. So you can pay $200 for your soul's healing. Bringing on those in pain. Empty promises to those who hurt. In the name of a leader who people pay due. Ain't no love, just energy impure and untrue. You gotta be real, otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. You gotta be real, otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Don't be seduced. You gotta, otherwise, be real. Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Question those who profess the truth. Question those who profess the truth. The eternal can sustain. Bright light on the corner of the dark street. Just a cardboard sign and a can in between some dirty bare feet. Eyes that I can't bring myself to meet. Yeah, well I could spare 20 if I knew you'd be using it to get just what you need. And ooh, 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 I'm just another cold shoulder. Ooh. Somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's mother, father, somebody's someone, somebody's missing you. Wherever you came from, wherever you go, I hope you know you're somebody's someone. You're somebody's someone. Picking up the phone, who's it gonna be this time? This time it's the sound of your voice, but it ain't really you on the line. When you're gonna come out on the other side? Well, it's on you, cause you know there ain't nothing we can do, no matter how hard we're trying. Ooh, 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 can't make you drink that water. Somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's mother, father, somebody's someone, somebody's missing you. Wherever you came from, wherever you go, I hope you know you're somebody's someone. You're my mother's son, and I'm still your little sister. Somebody, someone, we're all still missing you. Back where you came from, wherever you go, we hope you know you're somebody, someone. You're somebody, someone. You're somebody, someone. You're somebody, someone. Bright light on the corner of a dark street. No time to say bye, but giving thanks, trying to find peace of mind. The world spins around, but don't let it pull you down. I am what I am. You are who you are. Ashes down on the ground.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Surround me. Let love and connection set you free. Community together, one
Can you hear it? That's my point.
becomes we. I'm dreaming of a new start.
I'm going back to off.
I shine.
I'm like, can they hear me? No, they can't hear me, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm like you.
Or should we mute him and think he comes back over to? No, he's not gonna come back over, right? He's not.
Well, you won't be.
Memories healing, but never gone. Loss turns to meaning and gain. Resilience, tough bliss. Rising out of the fire, sailing through hope and desire. I'm dreaming of a new start. Let light shine from the heart. Sun rises, life goes on. Memories healing, never gone. Her name was Tracy. Her name was Jo. Her name wasn't Lana when they found her, so they're calling her Jane Doe. She went by Stacy, she went by Faye. She went by herself to a bar down the street one Saturday. Well, some girls are long lost before they ever leave, and some never even get a chance to show up. Some girls are never asked what they wanna be, and told they're not enough. And I'll pray for the day, for the day, for the day all the girls all around the world will be free. And I'll say a name, say a name, say a name, and keep fighting for equality. She wanted her own life, she wanted to choose. She wanted the wind in her hair, someone to care, and anything to lose. Under the radar, oh, above the law. She packed 3 personal things and our hopes and dreams, last anybody saw. Some girls are long lost before they ever leave, and some never even get a chance to show up. There's some girls that never ask what they wanna be, and told they're not enough. And I pray for the day, for the day, for the day all the girls all around the world will be free. And I'll say a name, say a name, say a name, and keep fighting for equality. Yes, she'll be passed on, but she'll never be gone. And it's always darkest before the dawn, and in her eyes is a fire that still burns for change. And I'm gonna grab that torch and carry on till the day that I have to pass it on. March along to the drum that won't fade. It ain't getting any better when the story's the same. I pray for the day, for the day, for the day all the girls all around the world will be free. And I'll say a name, say a name, say a name, and keep fighting for equality. All of the lies I believed got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt. All the blame and the hate, the self-hurt and the heartbreak, a fist that kept holding me down. And I was my own worst enemy. And I found my way through it all. Finally I see I'm enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am enough. I am enough for the laughter, the life that I'm after, enough for my wildest dreams. Yeah, 'cause every flaw from my toe to my jaw is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I know I got something to say, and I'm gonna remind myself every day I'm enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am enough. shine down on you. And I am enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am, I am, I am. I'll sing it again. I am, I am, I am. One of those lies I believed got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt. They say I used to lie. Many faces outward, peel the layers off before time passes you by. Happiness should be free. Joy deep within, find the key. But they say receive the divine to throw out the demons inside.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Path to Hope Live. My name is Dan Sherman, he, him, his, and I am the Community Health Investment Manager for Providence St. Joseph Health here in Sonoma County. We're excited to bring you today's event as the first in the Path to Hope Live series on suicide prevention, resilience building, and dealing with the grief, loss, and mental health challenges of our times. The power of connection to heal is profound, and we hope that these events will help make those connections as we all seek balance and renewal in our lives and communities. During these presentations and throughout the series, we want everyone to feel welcomed and safe. And to that end, we're providing an interpretation option for our Spanish-speaking neighbors joining us today. If you'd like to hear the presentation in Espanol, click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen. We also welcome and encourage you to include your preferred personal pronouns in your Zoom name. To do that, click on the small three-dot menu and choose Rename. And we also have breakout rooms available to anyone who may feel triggered in any way by the content being presented. These spaces will both be bilingual and will be staffed by our partners, Buckelew Programs and Humanidad Therapy and Education Services. These are not meant to be therapy sessions, but just someone to talk to if you feel you need it. To access these, click the breakout room icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and then choose either Peer Support Group 1, Buckelew, or Peer Support Group 2, Humanidad. Remember that Path to Hope Live will have 6 more virtual events from December 3rd to January 21st. See the link in the chat for more information, but I do want to call out one of our upcoming presenters, Daphne Willis, whose music you heard as we waited to start, is joining us today. And Daphne will be doing our 3rd Path to Hope Live series on December 10th, Tools for Coping with Isolation. Daphne, thanks for being here. I also want to recognize and thank our partners in presenting this series. Buckelew Programs, Humanidad Therapy and Education Services, and the Sonoma County Department of Health Services Behavioral Health Division. I'd like to now invite Bill Carter, Director of the Behavioral Health Division, to say a few words of welcome before we get started. Bill?
Dan, go ahead and introduce Angelina. She's going to go on from now.
Okay, very good. So on to our main event. Today's presentation is titled Chronic Illness and Boundary Guidance. And this talk will discuss how, where, and when we need to set boundaries with ourselves and in interpersonal relationships to create the necessary safety and space we need in coping with chronic illness and pain and the energy draining challenges they present. Our presenter, Angelina Caporale, was officially diagnosed with endometriosis 3 years ago, but she's been an endo warrior for 27 years. Angelina has a bachelor's degree in psychology, 20 years experience as a massage therapist, and more than 20 years in customer service and hospitality and in the medical profession in advocating for coverage for patients. Through these experiences, Angelina has found boundaries to be a foundational requirement for healing and successful interpersonal relationships. Angelina, take it away.
Thank you, Dan. I'm Angelina Caporale, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I apologize, I was unable to figure out how to do the rename feature just before this. So it's so wonderful to see so many of your gorgeous faces here today. Thank you for joining. Chronic illness and boundaries are not always the most fun topics to join on. It's not the most, huzzah, that's what I'm gonna do with my afternoon. So I really appreciate you being here. Chronic illness and pain can turn our life on its head. There's an extra feeling of betrayal when it feels like your own body has turned against you. Sometimes this can happen in an instant, like a car crash, and sometimes it takes years, and it slowly steals pieces of life as we know it. I was 10 years old when I began my journey with endometriosis. It was 6th grade, and my 6th grade teacher found me in the hallway, clutching my stomach in pain, and she asked me what was wrong. And I whimpered and I said, I just started my period for the first time. And she scoffed at me immediately, and she told me to pull it together. She continued to scold me to say that no one should ever know that I was in pain or that I was menstruating. I learned 2 very important things at that moment. That first, it's completely unacceptable to show pain. Second, that me not making other people uncomfortable by seeing my pain was more important than my pain being addressed, treated, or helped. Endometriosis is a painful disorder in which tissue, similar to the tissue that normally lines the uterus, endometrium, grows outside of the uterus. So it travels to other places in your body. It's not very good boundaries. No, not even kind of. It can migrate to be over organs. It can wrap around your spine. Some of the people that I've met have even had it in their lungs. We definitely don't want things like that in our lungs. And it has a plethora of fun and exciting symptoms that include painful menstruation, painful urination and bowel movements, excessive bleeding, pelvic pain, bloating, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, and can go even so far as infertility. Now, all of these can create lots of opportunities for completely embarrassing situations. One of my friends was so kind to drive me back from a doctor's appointment, and that doctor's appointment was about 3 hours away. And halfway home, I realized that the cramping in my body, which is normal to have cramping and pain, was actually now activating my intestines, and I needed to find a bathroom immediately, not 5 minutes ago, not 5 minutes from now. I needed a bathroom right now. And as we were driving, we were realizing that there was absolutely no bathrooms at all. There was not a Starbucks, there was not a fast food place, and I knew I was going to be in deep trouble. And she was very furiously trying to find some place for us to stop. And at one point she looked at me and she was like, Ange, if we need to pull over underneath this bridge and you need to do your thing, I will hold up a sheet for you. I got you. You can poop under the bridge. It's fine. It's fine. And that's true friendship right there. But that is just one of the situations that you can get into when a symptom from a chronic illness just gets activated. And that is an extra thing that you have to allow for, to create space for, and quite frankly, develop a sense of humor. I wish I could tell you that was the only time that that situation happened. It was not. My other friend, we were driving to a comedy show, and I was driving and there was traffic, and it took much longer to get there than originally planned. And I literally, when we got to a stop sign, had to stop, flee the car, and there was just a flutter of papers and things that had been in my car as I ran to a close building. My friend who was in the car had to get out and get into the driver's seat and proceed to drive around until she saw me again. Why am I telling you these things? You're like, I kind of showed up just to hear about some boundaries. Well, I'm telling you these things because chronic illness goes unseen. The behind the scenes, like you see, I have makeup on and I'm here with you and I've got great lighting and there's a beautiful barn door behind me. But what you don't see is that I took off yesterday from work so that I could be prepared and have the energy to be here. What you don't see is that I have a heating pad on my low back to stop spasming so that I can sit here and be with you for an hour and a half. What you don't see is I also have an ice pack on my low belly to stop the stabbing pains. So this experience that we get to have here together, we get to pull back the curtain. We get to pull back the curtain and see that maybe you have a chronic illness that no one can see. Maybe someone you know has something going on that you don't see. And maybe this will let you know that you're not alone. I'm telling you these humiliating experiences because you are not alone. I see you. I feel you. I've been there with you. So we talked about bathroom things. Thanks for being present for that. I also had a fun combo platter of other symptoms that went with my endometriosis. Things like excessive vomiting daily. At one point, it got up to 13 times a day. No reason. It wasn't something I ate. It wasn't because I didn't sleep enough. It wasn't because I wasn't eating the right things. It was just because I had endometriosis and it decided that it was going to grow around my stomach. So anytime another little hormone floated by, it would do exactly what it was designed to do and contract, which would cause me to vomit. So this is why it's so important for us to share that these things that we hide from other people and even try to hide ourselves to maintain some form of dignity, It's okay. I'm still here. You're still here. We're here together. Endometriosis can take up to 6 to 10 years on average to be diagnosed. There's a variety of reasons for this. A person can become used to the pain and discomfort. We ourselves, we sometimes are like, just suck it up. We're used to this. Sometimes a little bit more painful today. Sometimes it's a little more challenging. And so you just continue on. You're like, yep, that stabbing's happening. So you're continuing, you're like, let's go to this meeting. Let's go to the grocery store. Pain is also a hard thing to measure. So when you go to the doctor's office and they ask you to rate your pain, you're like, well, today my pain's an 8, but you're looking like this. You're like, my pain's an 8. And they're like, yeah, your pain's an 8. Okay. And you're like, no, really. Like every day, my pain lives between a 6 and an 8. I am screaming on the inside right now. I'm like, but I'm trying to communicate and I need to be able to have myself together. So it's an 8, but that's someone believing that that's your 8 or not. Also too, because that's so subjective, women who, or people who are trying to conceive that have endometriosis, they might get diagnosed faster because it's easier to see if like you're having difficulty having a baby. If there's no baby, so we got to look at other issues. And so they will delve into that. So having that experience for people will sometimes allow them to get a faster diagnosis, which makes sense. It's empirical. You're trying to have a baby for a certain amount of time. There's no baby. We got to look further into this. If the sperm's doing okay, then what's happening inside the uterus that's going on here? Sometimes it's hard to get a diagnosis of endometriosis because it's mistaken for another disorder, which is completely understandable. As from my 2 previous stories, it can be considered possibly IBS or a pelvic inflammatory disease. So those 2 things, oftentimes it gets mistaken. So remember when I was talking about like nausea and that I vomited up to 13 times a day. For 2 years, I myself, who lives in this body, did not fully put it together that my endometriosis was affecting me all month long now. So I went to the doctor and it took 2 years of saying, I'm vomiting every day, all day, no reason. What's happening? And we did all sorts of tests. We went over and I ate radioactive eggs, delicious. And they traced that through my system, totally fine. They did an upper endoscopy where they put a lovely little video camera in through your mouth down and they check out things on the inside. Also totally okay. So they gave me things like nausea medication, which sadly didn't work, which is understandable because my stomach was literally being squeezed. So that was 2 years until they sent me to a surgeon. They sent me to a surgeon because they were thinking that it might be my spleen. So the surgeon comes in and starts talking to me. And he's like, you know what? I don't really like your symptoms for taking out your gallbladder. He's like, I'll do it. I'll do it if you want to. It's like, but there's a 30% chance that you'll get better. There's a 30% chance that it'll get worse. There's a 30% chance that it's going to stay the same. And he was the first doctor to actually palpate, to touch my stomach. And so he started touching my stomach, and he started like up by my diaphragm and started going around. And then when he got to where my ovaries were, I yelped. And he was like, huh, does your vomiting get worse around your period? And I said, well, yes, it does. Yes, sir. Yes, it does. And he's like, huh. And I'm like, yeah, but I have endometriosis. I mean, I'm not diagnosed, but my mom had it. Most of the women in my family had it. This is pretty normal. And he said, you know what? I bet you it's endometriosis. He's like, so we're not going to do a gallbladder surgery. I'm going to send you to the gynecologist, and we're going to start working on this. So that doctor was my angel, because he kept me from having an unnecessary surgery. And by touching me, he really got to the root of the issue. Another reason why it might take so long to get diagnosed with endometriosis is that there is no non-invasive test to positively affirm that it is endometriosis. In order to get an official diagnosis, you have to get a laparoscopy. So they have to actually physically do a surgery, go in with a little microscope and little tools, and they go in and they got to put their eyeballs on that endometrium that has taken a little jaunt throughout your body. So in order to get to a surgery, though, that takes a lot of access to resources. And that means resources like having healthcare, having medical professionals that A, even know about the disease, and B, are willing to look into that. And also, you need some money. You need to be able to pay co-pays. You need to be able to have sick pay to take time off from work if you can work. You need to be able to have resources that get you to a doctor, like transportation, like a community or a support system of people who are willing to drive you. And we don't all have those. We don't all have those at that time. I share because one of my friends who has been listening to my journey, she does my hair. She has been listening to my journey for years. And she started to have some of the same symptoms. And she was able to get a diagnosis within 2 years. And she said, Ange, had you not talked to me about it, had I not known what you went through, I wouldn't know what to ask the doctors or how to ask them what to look into. So us sharing our experience is so important. Part of those resources is also making sure that like things like our healthcare will pay for things. When I was at the chiropractic office, I was an office manager, and I did also the medical billing. So I would have a day a week that was devoted to calling insurance companies, because I knew, because I had already called and pre-authorized people, that their insurance was supposed to cover that they were supposed to get chiropractic health. And so I would bill them, and then it would come back as denied. And I'm like, no, no, no. Thank you for playing. We're going to try this again. So I would then get on the phone, and I would get to spend a day a week on the phone with different insurance companies. The longest I was ever on hold was for 4 hours once. I was on hold for 4 hours. And that was after I'd already been on hold for 2 hours and was disconnected. So there is a huge web of support that's needed in order to fully treat chronic illness. You need people like that are willing to come to bat for you, and you have to have the energy and time and space to come to bat for yourself. So with that, we have to look at how many spoons we have, how many increments of energy. Who here has heard of, who's part of my spoonie life? Who, yes, I'm all write spoon life in the message chat right now. So spoon life means that, for those of you, I'm very glad if you're not familiar with it. So we only have so much energy in a day. Yes, spoon, thank you. Yes, lots of spoons. So we only have so much energy in a day, and each increment that we do have is an increment of energy is called a spoon. And there are only so many spoons in our budget per day. So we reach on at the beginning of the day, we reach on into the kitchen drawer of our body energy, and we're like, ta-da, I have spoons. These are how many spoons today I have. And then you start saying, you're like, oh, well, I have to get up and take a shower. Boom. There goes one spoon. And then you're like, oh, I have to drive to work. And guess what? Hey, there is traffic. So it's taking an extra half hour to get to work today. So instead of one spoon that it takes up, we're going to go for a full 2 spoon situation. Bye. And then you get to work, and oh, now we got to work extra because there is a emergency meeting the next day. Boom, there's an extra spoon that gets taken away. And there are certain days that we wake up with less spoons than normal. We're like digging into that body kitchen drawer, and we're like, well, I found a teaspoon. So instead of making dinner tonight, I am gonna order out. That's what's gonna happen, because they can deliver that and I don't have to stand in a kitchen over a stove and spend an extra spoon that I don't have. So when we have chronic illness and chronic pain, we have less stamina, less energy, and also, I don't know about you, but I find I have less patience. And the gift of that, I know it doesn't sound like a gift. It sounds like the gift that you're like, oh, thanks. Can I return it? Did you give me a receipt, a gift receipt? I would like that, please. I'm sorry, no gift receipt. Nope. The gift of that is that we get to find what's truly important to us, because we don't have extra spoons to go gifting out to people. We're like, sorry, you are not spoon worthy at this moment. Thank you. So we get to decide what is important to us. And our time and energy are so very precious. They are treasures, and we really do need to guard them like a dragon. Like, these are my shinies. You have to know the correct password to enter and take them. So what would it be like living a life that builds our energy instead of draining it? What would that look like? It's a hard thing to even imagine as a person with chronic illness and pain. And how we do that is with boundaries. So boundaries are probably one of the most important things to me. Mark Grove says, walls keep people out, and boundaries tell people where the door is. And I love that. I love that. I'm like, yes, there's a door. We knock. You can't pound on someone's wall. You're like, hey, over here. And they're like, no, go around. The door's the other way. So personal boundaries, according to Darlene Lancer in MFT, she says personal boundaries allow us to be in the driver's seat of our own lives. Personal boundaries allow us to be in the driver's seat of our own lives, which as someone with chronic illness and pain, that means a lot to me. That means a lot to me because I already feel like things are stolen from me. Like, would I love to go on a hike? Yes, I love nature. I miss getting to go out on hikes and seeing little creatures. But can I? Well, if I go on a hike, I'm down for a week. And I don't mean like, oh, I can't go out and do cocktails after work. No, I mean like, sorry, work, I am laying down, I am horizontal, there's no vertical happening, all horizontal. And I am curled up with my best friend, the heating pad, and my favorite ice pack. You know, that is how that goes. So my boundaries are allowing me to choose to make time for the things that I need to do. Like I need to put a roof over my head. I need to put food on the table. I need to put gas in the car. I need to pay my PG&E bill. I need to pay my medical bills. And also, if there is leftover, to spend time with my loved ones, to do things that make my soul feel vibrant and happy. But there's trade-offs, right? So I got to find out my wants versus needs. When, like, I want to go hiking, but I need to pay rent. I want to eat that delicious chocolate gluten-y cake. Amazing. It's beautiful. But I don't want to be vomiting for the next 24 hours and living in the bathroom. So these are the kind of trade-offs that I get to do with that. So I got to set some boundaries with myself. So what is a boundary? I've been talking a lot about them. A boundary is a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line, a border, a frontier, a borderline, a partition, or in cases like this, physical, emotional, and mental limits we establish to protect ourselves from being manipulated, used, or violated by others, or I would even say ourselves. They allow us to separate who we are and what we think and feel from the thoughts and feelings of others. So we talked a little bit about my boundaries with myself. So if with myself, my needs are rent, food, medical bills, time with my loved ones. Those are my needs. right? Kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Basic, and then like, I would say that friends and family love are very, very basic, important needs. But those are the things. So that I can function as a human and in this life. So what are the boundaries that I need to set with myself in order to do those things? My sleep. I mean, it's very easy as someone who is in pain. There's a lot of times that I don't get sleep because my body has decided that it's going to do its own pain dance. So I still have to make the choice to put myself to bed at a certain time, whether or not my body is agreeing. Sometimes it's like putting a child to bed. It's like, no, but I still have to do it. Also, food. I have to make choices of things that support my body. So for me, I know that, that sugar, I love you, sugar. I can't have it on a regular basis. I can't do it. You know why? It creates inflammation in my body. It takes my pain that might be hanging out at a 6 or a 7, and then it shoots it up to an 8 and a 9. And that means that I am out for a lot of activities. By activities, I mean work. So my boundaries around work, I'm like, this is what I need to do to pay my bills. In college, I had 3 jobs, but my body has changed. My pain, my ability to do what I used to do. I used to have a spoon army. It used to be a Costco size box of spoons. I was just like, yeah, no worries. Let me just pull another spoon out, but not anymore. It's like driving a car that had needed to have its oil changed, and you don't change the oil, and you don't change the oil. And it's still fine. We're still driving. We're still fine. You don't change the oil. You don't change the oil. And then all of a sudden, you're stuck on the side of the road, your poor car, which is our body. So I can't do that anymore. I needed a job that I was not on my feet all day anymore, that I could sit, and I needed a job that would understand and support me with my pain management. So when I went to interviews, which this is not a popular mode, because usually in the interviews, you're like, yes, I can do anything. You need it, I got it. But in my interview, I had to be real clear because I wanted to set both of us up for success. And it was that I was like, I do have this chronic illness, which they knew about because we had worked in another capacity. And they're like, that's fine. As long as you get your job done, that's fine. So that's where I have privilege in that. I have privilege in the fact that my job right now is super supportive of it. I have privilege in the fact that my job right now, the owner, his wife sadly passed away from cancer. And that experience led him to choose a healthcare program for his clients, for his employees, his family, that would allow us to go to specialists, that would allow us to seek out medical attention in areas where we could get help and not be stuck in a small system. So I chose this job and they chose me. We chose each other. And I am super grateful for that. But making all these choices, that means I go to work, I come home, and I get horizontal. I am not going to be upright. If I do go out, it's going to be, I'll go to work, I'll go out, and then that's on my Friday. And then the next 2 days, I'm probably horizontal. That's where you'll find me. So I have to make concessions. If I eat that chocolate cake, I'm gonna be vomiting. These are choices that I make, but my boundaries that I have to set for myself in the long run are ones that help me to avoid that pain dance as much as possible, or even at a higher level than what is normal for me. And also that can help me lead my best life so that it allows me to still have time with my friends and my loved ones. So boundaries with others. This one can feel a little uncomfortable. It's okay. You got this. We're here together. We got this. So it is not selfish to prioritize your needs over someone else's wants. I'm going to say that again. It is not selfish to prioritize your needs over someone else's wants. This is so important because you want to make people happy. You want those you love to be ecstatic. You want to do things with them. You want to be able to support them in different ways. Like, I am so grateful that this event is on Zoom because so many people like myself, if it was a physical event, I couldn't have gone to do it without making other concessions. So I was going to, when this event was going to be in person, I was going to get to go and support my friend Erica. I was going to get to go and be at her booth and be there with her. But I knew that I was going to be taking time off the day after. But getting to do this on Zoom means that more people have access to it. We don't have to leave our house. Yes. And we can turn it on and we can lay any way we want or need to be comfortable. So, question is how do you know when you're so focused on shoving pain down so that people can't see it? Like, how do you know when you maybe need to set a boundary with someone else because you don't necessarily differentiate that discomfort or that pain with that situation because you're just used to discomfort and pain? That's just the normal way of operation throughout the day. So some of these things we might want to look at and see if, do you ever say no when you mean to say yes? Or do you ever find yourself saying yes when you mean to say no? Do you ever feel guilty when you say no? Have you ever acted against your gut or your values in order to please someone else? Have you ever not spoken up when you have something to say? Did you ever find that you didn't call someone out when they mistreated? Have you ever accepted physical touch when you don't want it? Now, this can be something like as like trivial as an example. I worked at a winery, and when I left them, I came back to visit, and I was like hugging everyone around. I'm a hugger. Those of you I see you in here that know me, you know I'm a hugger. It's a really big thing. It's a huge thing. So I was around going hugging. And then all of a sudden one person was like, I hate hugging. And I was like, what? What? I've been hugging you for years. I am so sorry. I was like, firstly, it was hard because in my mind, I was like, how would you not want to hug? But at that moment, I was so excruciatingly happy. So happy that she told me. I'm like, I have been hugging you for years and you hate hugs. I wish I had known that at the beginning. I wish I had known that at the beginning to be able to support her. And then when I knew, I was able to honor that for her. Have you ever found yourself allowing your time, your attention to be taken away or stolen when you're trying to accommodate somebody else's like immediate needs and wants? So like say you are trying to get a big project done and all of a sudden someone is like, hey, how's it going? I had this day, blah, 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 blah. They're like, I'm great. I'm good. I want to talk about like this flower that I saw, which is very cool. But you have an important project. And instead of just being like, hi, I really want to hear about that flower, but I need to finish this project first. You just sat and listened about the flower and they continued to talk for another hour and your time was gone. So those kind of moments, there's not an intention of crossing boundaries, but it happens. It happens when we don't really know how to say that that's my boundary, because we might even not know that that's where a boundary needs to be put. We're so used to being yes people, saying yes. Have you ever given too much or overcommitted just to be accepted or loved or to be seen as useful or worthy? Yes. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the chronic illness and pain community, there's an extra layer to that because we are so limited in our energy and ability to go and do things, and we have to say no to different events and different things all the time, that when it's something that is maybe just out of our capacity, maybe just a little bit out of our capacity, that it's something we say yes to. And we want to feel useful. We want to be able to do things for those that we love. And it's really hard when you physically can't do these different things or mentally can't do these things. Have you ever become overly involved or taken responsibility for someone else's problems or difficulties? Mm-hmm. I see you. Mm-hmm. Yep. I see you. Yep. That means when someone comes and brings their problem, they may not even be asking you to solve it. You're like, you take out your cape and you tie it on and you're like, I got you. I can solve that. And like, on it. But that's theirs, right? That's theirs. Have you ever allowed people to say things to you or in front of you that make you uncomfortable? It's really hard. Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard. Have you ever found yourself not communicating your emotional needs in your closest relationships? Yeah. And why do we do that, right? Why do we do that? Because in theory, this person that we love, that loves us, wants to take care of us too. But we're afraid they'll leave. We're afraid they'll leave. And especially when we have chronic illness and pain, and we've said no to the last 20 invitations to go out, to do things, to be a part of events, to be a part of groups, our circle inevitably becomes much, much smaller. So those people that are still with us, still in that circle, ooh, the thought, the idea of them leaving, that is rough. And it is scary. So how do we know that maybe our boundary has been crossed? Some internal signs that warn us about our boundaries being crossed can include something feels off. Maybe we can't quite put our finger on it of what feels off, but maybe there's extra butterflies in the stomach, extra nausea. It's always like, am I upset about this situation? Is this endo? I don't know. Sometimes I gotta wait it out. I'm like, sometimes there's a stone in your throat. Do you bite your nails or picking at your cuticles? Perhaps you find yourself doing unconscious soothing movements like hair twirling, scratching, picking. Your mind might power down. You cease to be able to really focus on what's being said or done. Just go into like a little freeze mode. So your body can go into fight, flight, or freeze. You could feel stunned and speechless. You might notice yourself clenching, or your body you might be bracing it as if for attack, whether or not there's a physical threat. You may feel violently sick to your stomach, even to the extent of vomiting. Having obsessive thoughts, thinking about the situation. What did I do wrong? What did they do wrong? In the subtle art of not giving a bleep by Mark Manson, he explains that when we're young, pain is what teaches us to pay attention to what is good and bad for us. It explains the research has proven that our brain does not decipher a major difference between physical versus psychological pain. This means at some point in our evolution as people, it became beneficial for our survival to give equal enough tribute to protect ourselves from tigers as well as jerks, or keeping us from becoming jerks, okay? So Mr. Manson also goes on to state that, like physical pain, our psychological pain is an indication of something out of equilibrium, some limitation that has been exceeded. Boom, some limitation has been exceeded. That is a boundary. That is what is happening. So one way that we can feel into our body to discover what is going on for us in a situation is we can do some grounding and stretching. So I want everyone to get comfortable in your seat or lying down, whatever is most comfy for you. And I want you to start taking some deep breaths in through your nose, then out through your mouth. As you take a deep breath in, I want you to fill those lungs, fill it, expand your chest. And then let it out slowly. When we focus so much on other people, our energy and focus is on them, and we are drained. So we need to take that focus and shift it back into ourselves. Wiggle your toes. Start to wiggle your feet. Are they warm? Are they cold? Is there a scratchy, little itchy you need to take care of? Rotate those ankles. Feel those calves. Tighten them, loosen them. Keep doing slow breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can even take your hand and touch your knees, move it to your thighs. Are there parts that feel stuck and stagnant? Are there areas that are like, oh, that's a little tense? Move up, feel your hips, give them a little rub. Hi, hips. Then move your hands up to your stomach. Hold that belly. Is there any areas of your belly that feel super tight? Is there anything, different temperatures? Check in with your body. Our body has so much information for us. Now let's touch our hands. How are those doing? Wiggle the fingers, rotate the wrists, shake out those arms. Any tightness? Ooh, I feel some in my neck and shoulders. Let's rotate those shoulders. Yeah, I saw some of you stretching. That looks good. Keep breathing, rolling the neck. Other way. How's that feel? We're feeling a little good, little stretched out, a little bit more in our bodies. I know as someone also with the tendency that it's safer to be out of my body when it's in constant pain, that it's hard to get back into it. But really by being in our body, we're able to feel and see when points of contention come out. So when we have anxiety, pain, sadness about the situation, it's really important to feel into your body, see where that is living. Because once we know where that is, you can, and you know that it's not your normal chronic illness pain. We know it's not just like a little, I slept wrong. We know it's this situation, we can take it. I like to physically like grab it. I like grab it, and sometimes it takes like rubbing on the situation. I'm like, no, I'm pulling that out of me. Just rub, pull it out. Or sometimes I even take like my fingers like little scissors and I like cut it out. And I throw that out into the universe. I'm like, get that out. No, thank you. Not mine. I've got enough. My plate totally full. So not mine. And I imagine it into this little ball, regifting it to the universe. And I say, what is my energy? Let it return to me. What is their energy? Let it return to them. So that I can be in a more grounded space when I am about to set my boundary. Because at this point, I realized not my normal pain. This isn't meeting my needs for what I want for my life. I need to address something. So how do I do that? Communication. Woo, fun. So communication, we are going to use I statements. I love those I statements because really it's not even about what they're doing. This is about what I want and what I need in order to live my best life. So first, you got to find out, is that person open to have the conversation about the boundaries? Because you just can't start being like, hey, you over there, this is what I want slash need, and this is blah, blah, blah. They're like, whoa. Are they willing to come to the table with me? If they are, fantastic. So if they are, we can start saying things like, when X happens, I feel this way. I need blank to happen, or I will need to do X. So let's take an example of someone is always late to coming to meet up with you. As a person with chronic illness and pain, that is a challenge extra for me because I've already allotted a certain amount of time that I know my body is going to be able to be present and there with them. So if they're always late, that means that there's going to be less time that I can spend with them. I waited one time, which this was back in the day before I set my boundaries, but I waited for someone for 2 hours out in my car. That is way too long, FYI, just so you know. Okay, so my boundary was, when you are running late, would you please call me? When you don't call me and you're running late, I feel hurt and my time isn't respected. And if you do that in the future, I might have to leave, or the time that we spend together might be shortened because I can't be there for that long. So it's about me at this point. It's me, right? I'm not like, shame on you. Shame. There's no shame bell like in Game of Thrones. There's going to be no marching of a person through the street. It is strictly about a me. It's an I statements. When this, I feel this. If this happens, I will need to do this. And that person may or may not be okay with that. And we have to be okay with that too. Because this is us coming together. So when we set boundaries, we have to be prepared and willing to accept what that person decides, and also to follow through on the consequences of someone not choosing to support our boundary. Woof, that's rough. I know, because you're already afraid to throw out that boundary. You are already uncomfortable putting that boundary out there. You're like, what if they say no? Oh, well, sometimes they say no in big, big ways, okay? So we need to honor that maybe what my truth is right now and what someone else's truth is doesn't match up. And we might be willing and having to be willing to allow us to go different ways at this moment. Yeah, sorry, no magic pill, no magic wand that can make someone, like, even if I expressed my boundary so perfectly, I didn't blame them, I didn't shame them, I just was open and honest about my feelings and my needs, and they were justifiable needs. Well, sometimes people aren't able to say yes to that at that moment. And I have to be okay with that. So I have to trust in the integrity, like trust that that person is comfortable with what they're doing. And then I have to trust that that is what I needed. I mean, I took the time and the energy to get here and state that boundary. That is what I needed. And there's different levels of boundaries. So just because someone, like, you tell them, you're like, hey, like, call me when you're late. And the next time they're late, they're like late 15 minutes late and they don't call you. I'm probably not going to be like, well, remember that time that we sat down and had that talk about boundaries, like laying a hard line. I would probably be like, hey, remember we chatted? Could you please call me next time? Because sometimes people need reminders. That's fine. But it's like a level of boundary. I'm willing to do that when it comes to things like call me when you're late, or hey, can you help do dishes, and things like that, versus something that might be a larger thing, like if you physically put hands on me in a negative way, this is over. So these are important things to decide. And what's cool is that you are willing to have these conversations. And also what's cool is that you get to decide where your boundaries are, what works for you. There's no like clear cut, these are the boundaries you should have in order to live a good life. What your life is, what you need to live your happiest, most wonderful life, that is up to you. Also, sometimes when we're stating boundaries, people try to go, well, why? Why do you want to do that? Why do you need that? Why? They do the why thing. Well, first, I want to say you don't owe anyone the why. You don't owe a why, because it's your boundary, it's what you need. If you want to come to the table and you feel like that person is actually like genuinely interested and wants to know where you're coming from, that's great. But some people are asking the why so that they can, like, they have room to negotiate. They're like looking for the way to get the yes, or to make you feel stupid or little for saying what your needs are. So first, know that you don't owe anyone any extra information. A no is enough. A no is a complete sentence. So when you are doing certain things, people might be very upset when you start saying no. So when you start setting boundaries, you probably are someone who wasn't setting boundaries before. So people are used to you saying yes and getting their way. And so when you start saying no, they're like, excuse me, come again. You're like, I didn't hear that correctly. No, she meant yes. And you're like, actually, that was a no, but thanks. And they might start to act up because they don't like your no, because your no doesn't serve what they want. It's okay. It's okay. Even if we have a small group of people, it's okay to start pruning through those that don't honor your no's. It's a true friend, a true person who cares about you is going to want to support you. They're going to want to be there for you. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I did not know that that was uncomfortable for you. Oh my gosh, I did not want to hurt you. I am sorry. So the people that are butting heads against your no, these are the ones that maybe we need to take a step back. Maybe we need to give a little room on that and take a look at it from a different angle, because your no is important. No has a bad PR. So public relations are really bad on the no. Like, there's a movie about the yes man. It's like his year of saying yes to everything. Well, here's the trick. So when you have set boundaries with yourself, you know what you need for your life to be happy. That's actually your yeses. That is your yes. And your no is a protector. It protects about making sure that your yeses, you have enough energy, resources, time to be able to support that. So no is not a negative thing. Maybe it's a not now, maybe it's a maybe later. Maybe it's a just no thank you. Like, I used to have a really hard time saying no because I thought it was disappointing someone. So I would be like, oh, sorry, no, because. And then I would start with this huge litany, like basically an epic novel of the reasons why I had to say no. It was so carefully laid out. I mean, it basically had bullet points and charts. It was like a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And it was basically at that point when I said it like that, I was basically asking permission to say no. It wasn't a solid no. It was actually asking permission. So I had to get used to saying no. And part of being a customer service person or a concierge when it came to time for like doing certain tours and things like that, I got to have a lot of practice with saying no. I was like, I had to get used to saying no with a smile. So I was like, oh, I guess no isn't a thing. Like, I guess no isn't bad. So I was just like, okay, in the mirror, I'd be like, no, 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 thank you. No, 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 no. And I had to get used to it. I had to practice. I had to literally practice it coming out of my mouth. And there was one point where I was at work and I was doing something and someone was like, can you do X, Y, or Z? And I was like, no, sorry. And I'm like, I said no automatically for the first time ever. I'm like, where's the recorder? I need this moment captured. Hallelujah. So I was so excited when that no became a part of my essence. And it didn't deprive my world any. In fact, it made it better because I could say no to the things that weren't serving me. Like, I could say yes then, continued to the things that I wanted and needed to do. Without that no, there can be no yes. Does that make sense? Are you feeling me? If you're understanding this, right now into the chat message box. So there's different ways to say no. Thank you. Yeah. Ooh, there's some really good no's in there. You guys have been practicing. I like it. It's like no. Yes. Love it. Thank you. Beautiful. You guys are amazing. So there's different ways to say no. If you are a beginning knower, all right, you might want to hang out in the more passive, where it'd be like, let me get back to you. I'll think about that. Thank you for offering that to me. Those are really good ones because it gives you time to like think about it, see if that's still something you want to do. Then there's the assertive no, which is the straight up no. Oh, thank you. No, I'm good. No, I can't. Like that is the assertive one. Then I would love to hear the no song, by the way. I saw that in the chat. Would love to hear that no song. And then there's like a more aggressive no, where like if someone is a physical threat, you're like, no, get back. You can put physical hands up. No, no. There's also the not so healthy scorched earth policy of no that happens sometimes when we have had our boundaries crossed so many times. Maybe we haven't set boundaries and then we just go full dragon, scorched earth, everyone in the process. And usually it's over something like someone left a peanut butter sandwich on the counter. Like that's when we haven't gotten to do our boundaries and we will not take it anymore. So when you're setting boundaries, I ask that you don't abandon yourself. Trust that you have expressed your need. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. Are you going to say it the way that was just perfect, that was non-blamey, that had like no emotional tone, that didn't go into any of our triggers at all? Ooh, I wish I could say totally, you're going to just nail it the first time out of the bat. Nope. And can I say that even as someone who has been setting boundaries and saying no, there are times where I get triggered. I have been, maybe my pain's been higher, maybe it just gets caught off guard. And I'm like, ooh, I did not handle that boundary well. Yeah, my bad. So what we do is the thing is you get to practice. You get to practice time and time again because it's like tying your shoes. You as a child, when we're learning to tie our shoes, man, those shoelaces are everywhere. There is way too many hoops. It looks very complicated. And then we keep practicing. Some days we just tie a double knot and shove that into the sneakers and we go because we only have so much time. Some days we do the full bunny loop. Some days we can do the full like They do fun little parades into that tennis shoe of boundary setting. And we're like, dang, that was a good boundary. They're happy. I'm happy. We're good. Nailed it. I wish that it was always that way, but it's not. But we're going to get lots of time to practice that because our whole life we get to do that. Now, when someone walks away, when we set a boundary, that hurts. That really, really hurts. And it's sometimes that's just what needs to happen. We may experience great sadness at the loss of this relationship, but please take into consideration that even though we are sad, that this separation, if it's because of your boundary, it's the best. You're going to experience grief around this, and it's normal. You're going to think about them when you watch that show that you all watch together, and you're like, oh, they would love this. Remember? Oh, yeah, they're not right there. Okay. Because we miss those good parts too. Just because we're having to separate from someone, just because someone can't honor our boundary at that time, that doesn't mean that they are a bad person or that we're a bad person. It just means that our paths go separate at that time. And it doesn't mean when we miss them that we should go back to that at that point in time, because we separated for a reason. But that grief is normal, and we miss not only that relationship, but the idea of that relationship that we wanted and hoped for. And we're grieving that loss of what could be in it. It's really normal to reminisce. And it's also important to hold true and not abandon yourself. So it's very important that with our boundaries, that we have that time and that energy. Those boundaries protect our time and energy so that we can put that back into what is precious to us, what relationships grow us. Like the people that when we see them send us a text, we're like, yay, that you get that little shot of like, oh, my human is calling me. Or you're like, yes, I'm going and I'm getting to do something that fulfills my soul. Yes, that you have the energy for those people and for those situations that feed you and are reciprocal relationships. The idea is to put your energy and love back into these things that fill you up, because quite frankly, especially when we have chronic illness and boundary and pain, we don't have enough of that in our life. We really have to actively cultivate a life that is filled with people and situations that fill us. We want people and situations that bring us joy and connection so that we can help each other grow. So now is question and answer time. Let's see. Oh, I love that how active y'all are in this chat. It's fun. Let's see. Ooh, there's a No Song by Bishop Bullwinkle on YouTube. You should all check that out. Love that. All right. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat. Apologize, I get caught up in talking to you and seeing your beautiful faces on here that I wasn't able to look at the messages. Okay. Okay, so when someone says why to your no, what do you say? How do you respond? All right. So it depends on what relationship you have with this person, right? So when someone says why to your no, what do you say? How do you respond? If this is a person that is distant, you don't have to go into that why. You don't have to go into the why. That's not required. You don't owe anyone your information. You don't. Now, if it's someone that's close, that is what you say is, I need to do this for this reason. And if they don't respect that, then that's a whole nother situation that tells you more about your relationship and gives you a chance to look at what you want to do with that and within that relationship. Okay, there was a lot of info. What is the best way to get started for people who are afraid of confrontation? Ooh, okay. So, afraid of confrontation. Yes, nobody likes that. You want people to like you. I want people to like me. I want them to be happy, and I want us to be like able to frolic together, well, as frolicking as we can be, with me not being able to be vertical for too long. So with confrontation, what I would suggest is, depending on what space you're in, you can be like, thank you for that question. Why don't we discuss it at and designate a time? That gives you a chance to step back and take a moment so you don't feel so attacked, so you don't feel so like, oh, caught in the freeze, flight, fight mechanism. And then if you can take that moment and put it later, you can prepare and create, like write it out or do a run through with a friend. I mean, I can't tell you how many Saturdays where I was on the phone with friends and we would be going back and forth helping each other. So, and like also too, if you have a hard time with confronting someone, like if you are going to do the confronting of something because you have a hard time sticking up for yourself, I always suggest thinking about a mama bear. So a mama bear will not let anyone touch their cub. They don't even like it when you look at their cub, okay? And we all have a person in our life that we are mama bear to. Like if you, watch out if you talk to my friend that way. But we don't always do that for ourselves. So what we do is you imagine that person that you care about so much being in that same situation. And when those people are saying things to them that they said to you, how would you respond to protect that person? How would you respond to address that issue if it was protecting another person? I find that's the best way when it comes to like standing up for myself, when I'm willing to stand up for others and not myself, or it's hard to. So okay, let me see. Oh, here we go. My little message thing is trying to go all over the place. So I apologize. Give me just one moment to get back to your questions. Back to the. Huh. Strange. It keeps jumping up to the top. Hold on for me. Okay. As a social worker who works with patients suffering from various chronic illnesses, how can I support them? As someone who's living with a chronic illness and ongoing pain, how could I support you in managing and coping with it all? Thank you for that question. Thank you, Jessica. That is awesome. That is a fantastic question. So when we are supporting someone with chronic illness, just listening, that goes a long way. And also avoiding sentences that start with, have you tried? Because I can guarantee that they have probably tried it. Yep. I get like, when it came to pain management and things like that, they're like, well, have you tried meditation? I'm like, I used to guide meditations. I use meditation every day. How do you think I got here? It was meditation that got me here. like, have you tried acupuncture? I love acupuncture. And it does help for a few days after. If I could get acupuncture every other day, my life would be a beautiful thing, but I can't afford that. So yes, listening. And when they ask for something or are interested in something, helping them get resources for that. So whether they're finding that their medical practitioner that they're seeing is not able to help them, or not having ideas where to go next, help them find someone else who can. Do you have any mantras or thoughts around the fear of being mean when confronting and saying no? Ooh, I love that. Okay, so I want you to think of, when you're thinking about mantras and thoughts, I want you to think of maybe like the person that you most look up to, that you're like, dang, that person, they say what they mean, they're powerful, they're coming from the heart. Like, think of them when you're practicing saying no. So be them with that. Like, I loved Xena. I know that you're gonna laugh at that. Xena, Warrior Princess, and Wonder Woman are my, like, I was like, they're great. They are full of heart. They fight for the people. Like, they make sure, like, they're saying no to people who are like trying to take land from other people, trying to hurt other people. So knowing what your no is for, and then like embodying that person, that I would like say, try putting that on. And like, if you need to get a little talisman, like a little maybe a little Wonder Woman button or things like that, or whoever your talisman like thing is, like, you know, draw your little whatever you want on your hand, get your little tattoo, anything like that that helps you remember that no is not mean. Actually, no is the most loving thing that you can do for someone. Like, remember when I was talking about how they didn't, like, that person who finally told me they didn't want a hug? Oh, I didn't want to be giving her something that she didn't want for all those years. So like, that is the most loving thing that you can do. Let's see. Ooh, I love this. Non-confrontational answer to why, because this is something I need. Yes. Thank you, Charlotte. Yes. Beautiful. And Erica says, there is research that has shown if you stand in the Wonder Woman stance, you feel courage and do whatever the thing is you were scared about with more fierce, yes, I got this. Woo! All right. I think after this, everyone needs to practice their Wonder Woman stance. That's homework. We get homework now. Oh, I love this. It was the most uncomfortable thing for me to say no in the beginning. Once I came out of the fog, fear, obligation, and guilt, seeing the manipulation behind the ask expectation, it was easier to enforce my no. Yes. That is 100% true. Wow. Well, thank you all for this. We're approaching our 5:30 time period, and I appreciate you all saying yes to coming to this seminar, because that meant that you said no to doing a bunch of other things. And I am super, super honored that you decided to come and play with me. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining the very first Path to Hope live event. You can follow me on Instagram at Boundaries Baby, and boundaries is plural, BOUNDARIESBABY on Instagram. And I want to say an extra big thank you to St. Joseph's Health Buckelew programs for providing this, and to Martin Rivarola, thank you, for interpreting. I appreciate you doing that. It expands the message out even more. You're amazing. And I talk pretty fast at certain points, and he got everything. I know it. So, and I hope you all can join the next 6 Path to Hope live events. These are gifts to our community, so all you have to do is sign up. And the next live event, get out your calendars, is December 3rd. at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Kaleshi Ubozo on racism and mental health. So this is followed by a panel on the same subject at 5 p.m. with 3 community members, and they'll continue that important discussion. I look forward to seeing you all there, and in the meantime, wishing you blessings and boundaries. Thank you for coming out.
All of the lies I believed got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt. All the blame and the hate, the self-hurt and the heartbreak, a fist that kept holding me down. And I was my own worst enemy. And I found my way through it all. And finally I see I'm enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am enough. I am enough for the laughter, the life that I'm after, enough for my wildest dreams. Yeah, 'cause every flaw from my toe to my jaw is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I know I got something to say. And I'm gonna remind myself every day I'm enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am. Oh, I used to look in the mirror and see all the fear. I could see all that fear in my eyes. Then I saw it get clearer, like the blue in the sky. After that storm rolls through, the sun will shine down on you. And I am enough, just as I am. Feel right at home anywhere that I stand. Hold out my heart in the palm of my hand, and I live my life like nobody else can. I am. I'll sing it again. I am. All of those lies I believed got the better of me. Never thought there could be so much doubt.
They say I used to lie. Many faces outward, peel the layers off before time passes you by. Happiness should be free. Joy deep within, find the key. But they say receive the divine to throw out the demons inside. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta be real. Otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth, yeah. The external can sustain. You gotta be real. Otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Don't be seduced. Yeah. Enlightenment has a price tag. So you can pay 200 for your soul stealing. Bringing on those in pain. Empty promises to those who hurt. In the name of a leader who people pay to. Ain't no love, just energy impure and untrue. You gotta be real. Otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. You gotta be real. Otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Don't be seduced. You gotta, otherwise, how can you be uncompromised? Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain. Question those who profess the truth. Question those who profess the truth. The external can sustain.
Bright light on the corner of the dark street. Just a cardboard sign and a can in between some dirty bare feet. Eyes that I can't bring myself to meet. Yeah, well I could spare 20 if I knew you'd be using it to get just what you need. And ooh, 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 I'm just another cold shoulder. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You're somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's mother, father, somebody's someone, somebody's missing you wherever you can. Picking up the phone, who's it gonna be this time? This time. It's the sound of your voice, but it ain't really you on the line. When you're gonna come out on the other side? Well, it's on you, cause you know there ain't nothing we can do, no matter how hard we're trying. Ooh, 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 can't make you drink that water. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You're somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's mother, father, somebody's someone, somebody's missing you. Wherever you came from, wherever you go, I hope you know you're somebody's someone. You're somebody's someone. And I will lose you time and time again, but I will be there with you until the end. 'Cause you're my only brother, you're my mother's son, and I'm still your little sister. Somebody, someone.